My name is Khalif Bradley. I am the director and editor of the Black Beverly Hills Documentary. This is a documentary that took 3 years to make with over 10 re-edits. Knowing that Baldwin Hills, View Park, and Ladera Heights, the 3 wealthiest black neighborhoods in Los Angeles, are changing, I decided to make this film to preserve the history. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Seaborn Benson. I've been a native to the Crenshaw and View Park area for my whole life. When I think about View Park, I think about a place that's full of diversity and an abundance of culture. I mean, from the cafes that we have around, restaurants, the park where every Sundays they always have gatherings, dancing, people selling stuff, and just a really big sense of community. I think what people are more on the edge about is feeling like you might be an alien in your own community, and nobody wants to go feel like that. I think the more obvious changes to the community that are just really blatant is a lot of businesses, new businesses and renovations. I know a lot of people might notice the new renovations on Slauson, the Slauson area around Overhill. The whole complex renovated, the mall, Baldwin Hills Mall, the new Kaiser Permanente Hospital that got built up over here. Leimert Park, View Park, the Crenshaw area, this is one place I feel like when I come back here, I feel safe. I want everything, throw it down, I want everything, I want everything, I want everything.
I'm here on historic Crenshaw Boulevard, where the project Destination Crenshaw will start on 48th Street and span 1.3 miles to 60th Street.
So far, I've written and directed an independent film, and hopefully doing more of that soon. Also working on some TV shows.
And I work at a startup that is working to uncover unconscious bias in the workplace and find a solution through it.
I'm from Northern California. I went to school, I went to college at UCLA here.
And I'm from Miami.
I met her in New York.
No, not in New York. We moved to LA 5 years ago. We're here for forever now.
My wife and I were looking at open houses in Leimert Park, and it was like the first day that we had ever been looking at open houses, and I think there was like 2 real estate agents who told us, oh, if we like this house down the street, we should check out this house up the hill. And we were like, what hill? And we drove up here, and this was like the first house that we put an offer in.
I first actually came across View Park because I looked into Limerick Park. There was like a bunch of write-ups that were done a couple of years ago, and I really liked what I read. And then we stumbled upon View Park when we were visiting. After seeing this house, we did a little more research into the area and got a little more acquainted with it.
We didn't really know about View Park specifically. I didn't really know that there was a hill that had like this great view here until the day that we went and came into this house.
Yeah, we were living in Los Feliz before, and we were looking to buy our first home. We started taking a look at a bunch of different neighborhoods and came across View Park, which we hadn't been to before. And we loved the architecture of the homes, the historic sense that it carried. And this house in particular, when we came in, felt really lived in and loved. And it was something that we didn't experience in a lot of the other houses that we had seen, which were just kind of flipped. And it seemed like people in this neighborhood really had a lot of pride about where they were from and a lot of pride in the history. And we met Ward, our neighbor, when we came to look at the house for the first time, and there was just such a warmth around it, and we loved it and decided to move here right away.
Gentrification is like a pretty complicated topic. An older gentleman drove up and was asking like how much the house went for, and seemed like pretty bent out of shape that he didn't, because he had put an offer in on the house, and it seemed like pretty bent out of shape that he didn't get the house. People who have been growing up like in Limerick Park and the flatlands around here have, since they were kids, been thinking about like, oh, when I have enough money to buy a house on the hill, like I'm gonna work to get enough money to retire on a house on the hill. And because the intense spike in housing prices here the past few years, they are finding it more difficult to afford the houses on the hill, which is pretty it's pretty unfortunate that that's the case. And I understand that buying this house at a price as high as it was is like contributing to that. And so that's why I have mixed feelings about it.
I think gentrification is a really, really loaded topic. And I think it is very upsetting to everybody, the people who are being gentrified and also those people that are doing the gentrification.
Like on the other hand, I think that there's like a revitalization of the neighborhood that is good.
The city of Los Angeles is renaming a section of a road after the 44th president. Those who are used to traveling Rodeo Road will now be driving down Obama Boulevard.
A major milestone in South Los Angeles as the city celebrates America's 44th president, renaming Rodeo Road Obama Boulevard.
My name is Barbara, and I'm from Los Angeles. Not originally, but I've lived here over 50 years. Well, I visited a friend who lived in this house, and I loved her view. I wasn't out to buy a house in View Park per se, but I loved her view. And when she put her house up for sale, I took the opportunity to buy it. I've lived in View Park since 1972, November of 1972. So that's over 45 years. Well, it was very exciting. It was my first house that I purchased, and purchasing your first home is quite exciting. And with great anticipation of how you're going to reshape it to fit your personality. Well, when I first moved in, it was predominantly Caucasian, and then the neighborhood sort of changed and a lot of African Americans moved in, and it's constantly in flux. It's changing again, and a lot of Caucasians are moving back into the neighborhood. I would think that people are remodeling more. As new families are moving in, they're doing more remodeling and upgrading. Those are the changes that I've noticed. Well, I'm really gung-ho. I think that diversity is good. It's good within my family. I have a daughter-in-law from Japan and another daughter-in-law from Germany. So my family is gentrified. So it is well with my soul for the neighborhood to be gentrified. Just the entertainment that we have, we've had over the years, raising our children playing up and down the hill, our children having friends in the houses in the neighborhood. It's the fondest memory, I would say, was our children and their friends and relationships that many of them still have today.
The winter.
My name is Alex Ramos Arianson. My age is 38, and I went to San Diego State. Oh, my occupation, I work in the film industry. I do field production sound, so I do a lot of creative content. I go to movie sets, interview movie stars. I go to TV sets, and we do a lot of stuff with the actors so they can promote their movies. I do behind the scenes. I do a lot of news. So sometimes I gotta hold a boom. I lived in San Diego before coming to LA. I went to school in San Diego State, worked a little bit there, and then made a trek to LA. There was a black cameraman I used to work with, and he lived in View Park. And he told me, you should check View Park. Like 20 years ago. You should check View Park out and see if you like it. So I came around and I thought, wow, this is a really nice neighborhood. And I thought, yeah, I could live here, I knew about Ladera Heights more than View Park because that's closer to the 405, and I don't know, it's more gentrified, Ladera Heights. So View Park was up in the hill, and I really didn't know. It's like a little close niche neighborhood, and you really have to go into the hill or know somebody to come in. So I didn't know View Park, but Ladera Heights I knew about. I didn't know Baldwin Hills or Lemire Park, no idea. The history of View Park, I had no idea what the history of View Park was until I talked to Dunbar. My neighbor Dunbar told me about a little bit about the history, and I was actually fascinated. Yeah, I think gentrification is fine. I think the economy is a way to democratize neighborhoods. In a way, it's, I mean, from knowing the history of View Park, it was a heavily Jewish town before, and they got displaced, and then black folks moved in. So it's a cycle, economic cycle of what happens. I think the economy is the great equalizer, so if you're able to afford a house, why not move in? It doesn't matter what color you are, black, white, Asian. I'm brown, and I moved in here, but I know it's a black neighborhood. And I love my neighbors. They're great. Dumber is awesome, Mo is awesome, Mario is great. Love them all, they're all African Americans, and they love me, so it's all good. Me and my wife, we like to take walks. We walk our dog. We go on the paths that are around View Park. We walk our dog. We just like to walk around the neighborhood and then look at the beautiful houses that are around. A lot of historic homes. Yeah, it's really nice, and the views are just amazing. You can see the Hollywood sign from here, or you can see downtown LA. So it's just a great neighborhood.
My name's Warren Gray. I went to Cal State LA in California and University of Nebraska in Omaha in Nebraska. When we first moved here, we were one of a few African American families. Prior to us, I mean, like Ray Charles was already up here, Nancy Wilson was already up here, what's her name? Gladys Knight was already up here. I had a joyful time, you know, playing with kids in the neighborhood, going to a school in the neighborhood, because I went to Audubon and I went to Dorsey. You know, we played with our neighbors. Of course, they didn't stay that long. The ones that weren't African American, they left, which probably, in hindsight, they probably regret, because it's a wonderful neighborhood, very convenient to a lot of things. But riding bicycles down steep hills very quickly. There was that, as well as, because at the time, there were more vacant lots too. And traipsing around in vacant lots, you know, playing hide and go seek and tag and just running amok. The good thing was, particularly back then, you know, like our parents knew that we were within a 2 or 3 block area of the house, and there were no worries. I mean, they weren't concerned about anything happening to us. There was no gang problem, so even as a teenager, there was, you know, not much to be concerned about. There was a real estate agent named Deloy Edwards who still has an office, and I know that my father's business partner, Richard Allen, who's African American, he contacted Deloy, and Deloy said, "Hey, there's this house and that house for sale." He was African American. And he showed my parents some places in Baldwin Hills, Baldwin Vista, and View Park. And they chose the house in View Park. And that was like that was in the 60s, when the real estate was really a bargain. It was like, the house was like $42,000, you know, yeah. I live in a community of people who are mostly like me, you know, so that, it's not like I feel prying eyes when I'm walking down the street with my dog, or if I'm out working on my car, or taking out the trash cans, or anything else, you know. And plus, I'm not going to say that I'm, you know, bosom friends with my neighbors, but I mean, I know my neighbors, they know me, you know, so it's very relaxed. The past 3 years, I mean, we have other people moving into the neighborhood of various ethnicities. I'd say mostly Anglos, mostly white people are moving in more frequently. But of course, you also have Hispanics and Asians and so forth. And I think that does bring a very interesting flavor to the neighborhood, because it makes the neighborhood a little bit more diverse. The thing that I have noticed, though, that's not as good is that, like my brother was telling me that there was somebody down at Triangle Park, and they were walking their dog or playing with their dog or doing something. They happened to be black. And somebody who was a new move-in, who happened to be white, called the police because they thought something was going on with the dog and the person. And I mean, there's no matter where you are in the neighborhood, there's African Americans everywhere. So people who are not African American who are coming in the neighborhood need to get used to that, not the reverse. Gentrification has a negative connotation. In View Park, you have a lot of African American professionals who already have money, who make a living and who are very much upper middle class, so to speak. So some people, particularly older people, find an opportunity that if they bought a house for, let's say, for anywhere between $50,000 to $125,000, and somebody comes in and offers them $800,000 to $1.5 million, well, time to cash out. I see that happening, but I also see some of the people time to cash out happen to also be African American that are buying. So I don't think it's gentrification in terms of exploitation of people who have less being bought out by people who have a lot more. I just think it's a changeover. Baldwin Hills, View Park, Baldwin Vista, Ladera, probably the highest concentration of professional African Americans that are rather affluent. I mean, you've probably seen there's billboards and stuff for this one label called Black Beverly Hills, that sort of thing. So there's that, and that label has been attached to the area. But it's a wonderful community. It's almost as if we are a satellite community, like a suburb within the city. And in that way, it's very, very, very comfortable. And which is particularly strange because if you walk down a couple blocks to Crenshaw, you get an entirely different environment.
Yes, may I help you? Call in for Shirley.
There's always a lot of buzz at Simply Wholesome Restaurant, but the talk these days isn't about the good eats here in Windsor Hills.
2 jerk chicken patties.
It's about the local girl who'll wed in Windsor Castle.
Who'd have thought, someone on Overhill and Slauson would be in the palace,
A triangle-shaped wedge tears out of the asphalt and concrete-lined wall of the earth-filled dam of the Baldwin Hills Reservoir. Expensive homes on upper levels and then more modest ones on lower slopes feel the mud-brown surge. From the ground or water level, this is the scene when the water begins to drain away.
Hi, my name is Star Jones. I'm 20 years old, and I was recently in Virginia Beach, but I'm from Baldwin Hills in Los Angeles. First thing I feel about gentrification is when I first lived in Baldwin Hills from my young age, it was just all my childhood, what do you call those things? Landmarks like the liquor bank and all the other stuff was taken down, and a lot of the Crenshaw Mall is being remodeled to be a luxury hotel for some reason. It's trash. The rent has went through the roof. I can't even get an apartment. They're all with the roommate, it's $1,000 a month, which is ridiculous. Because back in the day, it used to be $500. Now there's a massive homeless problem because of the gentrification. Now all the hosts are pushing through our communities to just stake out, and it's not really good for the minorities and the homeless people as well. So I'm from Baldwin Hills originally, so how I feel about the area is just it's a really quiet area. A lot of wealthy black families live in that area, one of being Meghan Markle. So I had the opportunity to go to a really good elementary school and a good high school for education, and I think that really helped me get through high school and college and pushed me towards the military to have further my career in education. So I went to Cal Maritime, which is a school in Vallejo. I feel that all the experience that I've obtained and all my life skills I've obtained from Baldwin Hills helped me to get to where I want to be and be successful.
Darling, you send me, I know you send me, darling, you send me, I know you send me, darling, you.
Well, hi, my name is Shayla Esley, and I'm 19 years old, and I did go to USC, but I'm taking the semester off to act. I've lived in Ladera Heights for 4 months, but I do have an interesting relationship with Ladera Heights. My grandmother has actually lived out here for over 40 years, and I've always come here to spend time with her over the weekends. And this place was really special to me because I grew up in predominantly white community, white and Asian community, so that's a lot of the culture that I was exposed to. So when I would come here, I would get exposed to my culture, and I would see people who look like me, talk like me. I'd hang out with kids who liked to listen to the same music that I did, and that's what I really loved about being here. Personally, I feel that gentrification is just another way to put the African American community back a few thousand years. I really feel like everyone should have the opportunity to live in a nice place, in a great neighborhood, and yeah, I don't think anyone should have a good feeling about gentrification. And it's kind of ironic going to such an affluent school as USC that literally has gentrified an entire community. Being here, I really, really understand how that can affect people and lives, and people who've lived here for years, and how it can set back generations. So yeah, it's not a good feeling.
The winter.
We'll be right back.